black boxes are crucial, but even before they're found, the debris is providing insight into what may have happened in the plane's final moments. ABC's David Curley is on the early stages of the investigation and is here with me now with more on that.
Elizabeth, even though the remains of this aircraft have not been found, the parts, the debris, is already yielding significant clues to experienced investigators. A suitcase, an oxygen tank, an uninflated emergency slide. These pieces of the Airbus A320 and those floating on the Java Sea, all clues to why this aircraft crashed. What do they tell us? So far, the bodies found did not have life vests. That could indicate the jet broke apart at altitude. The crew didn't have time to communicate trouble, or passengers didn't have time to put them on. Do those pieces of metal wreckage have burn marks, suggesting fire or explosion? The way the metal is pulled apart, its edges can reveal whether it was impact with the water or other forces that tore the pieces.
So once you have the debris, you look at it all. And fire stands out, explosion stands out. Was it ripped apart or was something else going on here?
This debris field also tells a story. If it is relatively small, that would suggest the jetliner was mostly intact when it hit the water. A much wider field could mean a breakup at altitude and the pieces scattering as they fell into the Java Sea. But this debris field is also an arrow pointing to where the wreckage has settled to the bottom and where investigators should find those all-important black boxes. And if not today, within the next day or so, listening devices should be in the water somewhere around that debris field, trying to hear the ticking pingers from those boxes.
So important to find those. All right, Dave, thank you so much. And now let's bring in ABC News aviation consultant Colonel Steve Ganyard in Washington. And Steve, we just heard David talking about the debris and what it can tell us about what brought the plane down. You were also focusing on the bodies that were found and the condition that they're in.
Yeah, Elizabeth, what we saw today with the remains that were recovered was that they were intact and they did not have clothes on. Now, this suggests possibly an in-flight breakup of the aircraft where whatever was in the cabin would fall a long way and be stripped of the clothes that they were wearing. So this might explain why we lost contact with this aircraft at 32,000 feet and there was no further communication, no further radar hits. The question is, what would have caused that? Was it a bomb? Was it structural failure? What could have brought this airplane down catastrophically? But tonight, we really don't have any more facts. These are just guesses, and we need to get to that aircraft wreckage to find out what really happened.
But to be clear, Steve, you're focusing more on something happening mid-air as opposed to the plane intact coming down and crashing into the ocean.
I think we need to consider that rather than an impact at the ocean. I think we're seeing some clues tonight that there may have been an in-flight breakup.
All right, Steve Ganyard, thank you.
Leading theories about what caused plane to go down. AirAsia crash QZ8501. Crash clues. Of course, once the black box is recovered, it will give investigators significant evidence to look at as to why the plane crashed. And also the debris field that was recovered, once it's fully investigated, will also give additional information as to why the plane crashed. But to look at the evidence they recovered from the ocean, a suitcase, an oxygen tank, an uninflated emergency slide, bodies with no life vest on, indicates the jet may have broke apart at altitude. The crew didn't have time to communicate trouble, and also passengers didn't have time to put on life vests. So these are some crash clues for the experienced investigators to look at and what they're deciphering now and trying to figure out why the QZ8501 crashed. According to an experienced Air Force pilot and an ABC News consultant, John Nass, he believes there may have been a possibility of an in-flight breakup. Due to the way the bodies were pulled from the sea, they were intact and had no clothes on. That gives an indication of there may have been an in-flight breakup of the aircraft due to a bomb exploding inside the airplane during mid-air or some type of structural failure.